Hello there. Welcome to Adobe Live for Business. Thanks so much for tuning in today, whether live or on demand. My name's Lisa Ann Reeves, and I'm part of the International Strategic Development Team at Adobe with a focus on design. In today's session, it's about accessibility and how it plays a part in design. And our guests today are Will Butler and Alexander Jensen from the mobile app Be My Eyes. It's one of the largest online blind communities, working with sighted volunteers and companies to improve accessibility in product design. And they've actually just been announced by the Department of Health as one of the key technical partners enabling more accessible COVID testing across the UK. And it's their bold ambition to work towards a world where Be My Eyes as a service is no longer needed. So to tell us more, welcome Will and Alexander to Adobe Live for Business. Hello, both.
Hi.
Hello. Let's start by maybe you could tell us a bit more about your roles and the Be My Eyes app.
Absolutely. Yeah. My name is Will, and I'm our VP of Community at Be My Eyes, which basically means I look after our community of millions of volunteers and hundreds of thousands of people with visual impairments, speaking 185 languages all around the world, and the many companies who are providing Be My Eyes support to those users.
And my name is Alexander Jensen, and I'm the CCO of Be My Eyes. And what that means is that I'm trying to figure out how companies and organizations can get closer to the blind and low vision community through some of our solutions that we have on the app.
That's amazing. So can you tell me a bit more about how the app works end to end? And can you take us through what it means to be a sighted volunteer when on the app?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, basically the app kind of sprang from a very simple concept. Our founder, Hans, is visually impaired himself, and he was kind of trying to address a need that he had, which was, sometimes when you're blind or low vision, you just need a simple pair of eyes now and again, but not necessarily enough to call up someone and bring them over to your home or hire an assistant, but just someone to read the label on a food box, or someone to identify small print on a piece of paper. And it was right around the time when FaceTime and video chat was becoming easily accessible on smartphones. And so he started using his phone to video call friends and family and have them be his eyes and look through his camera and describe to him whatever it was he wanted to look at. And it worked really well. And so he started to think, well, what if I could tap into all of the people out there who want to do something good and help someone out? And so that was the premise behind Be My Eyes, just sighted people supporting people who need sight. And we launched, and it kind of just very quickly resonated with people and caught on. And so as a volunteer, you're just simply answering quick video calls from a blind or low vision person, describing whatever it is you see. They thank you, and you get on with your day.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love how it's really leveraging technology to achieve something so specific and very useful, very fantastic. I actually downloaded the app and sort of became a volunteer and took that journey, that onboarding journey. And I love the first screen that you get to, and it shows you that there's over 4.5 million volunteers already on the app. And that's across, as you said, 185 languages. It's really well established. It's really amazing. And accessibility is becoming such an increasing focus today. How important is it in design when it comes to promoting accessibility, and why?
In terms of promoting accessibility, I think one of the key benefits of having so many people on the app responding to calls similarly, like in a similar fashion as you would when you sign up as a volunteer, is that now there are 4.5 million people who have a little bit of a better understanding of what it's like to live with a vision impairment. I think when you receive some of these video calls, it becomes very apparent that we really live in a world that is designed mainly for people with sight. So I think one of the main benefits is that all of a sudden there are 4.5 million people that cares a little bit more, and that can make a very, very big difference. We say that the Be My Eyes app is powered by, of course, strong technology on one side and then human generosity on the other. And of course, we wouldn't be able to do anything without having millions of people who generously wanted to do, like, support people that they don't know, basically. I think that there's the barrier for providing support is, in a traditional fashion, is pretty high. I think we all designed to help each other, and with busy work schedules and whatnot, we just don't really do that anymore. Like walking an older lady across the street, doing something kind for someone else it's honestly, like, it's very great, it's satisfying, but for some reason we don't do it. So one of our users in the very early days, just after launching, I think she coined the Be My Eyes app and experience in a perfect way. She said, Be My Eyes is a good deed waiting to happen in your pocket. And I think that's exactly the simplicity of the app, and what it does for people on both ends is just what has made this thing grow into what it is today, completely organic. And it's just a community of people that cares. And I think that's really, really beautiful. I know that we have a short little video that we might want to show, just to give everyone an idea of what it's like to make calls and receive calls on the app. So if we can run that short little video. So if you're signed up as a volunteer, you will simply just get a notification saying someone needs your help. And if you have time to take it, you just click that accept button. If you don't have time to take it, don't worry. Someone else is just gonna pick up the call. And if you're blind or low vision, as Will said, if you need any kind of visual assistance, you simply just open the app, click a button, and you will be connected with someone who can see through your phone. So as a blind user, will just point your phone at whatever you need help with. So that could be like figuring out when the next bus is leaving, or checking out the color of a shirt or whatnot. And this is really like changing how support is delivered, because pre-Be My Eyes, you would have to go to your local blindness organization, you would have to wait for your friends or family to come by to provide that visual assistance. But now you can really do that with the click of a button, and it takes about 15 seconds before you are connected to someone else, which is a game changer, where you might have to wait a week to have your mail read before. So this really allows people to spend quality time with their families and not having to do practical tasks all the time. I just wanted to make that clear.
And you're working with some very big companies now as well, like Google and Microsoft, to help make their customer support more successful. Is that something that you can tell us about?
Yeah, about 3 years after launching the app, for the first 3 years of our existence, there was basically just one app or one button on the app. It says call first available volunteer. And we realized that sometimes it's better to talk to an expert. Sometimes it's better to talk to a company representative rather than a volunteer. If it's something that's technical or something that you need like some expertise to do, or if it's something sensitive. So we invited companies to be on the platform to basically answer calls that has to do with their specific product or service. So Microsoft was the first brand to join. So now if some of our blind or low vision users have issues with a Microsoft product, they'll just go into what we call specialized help and go into Microsoft and make a call directly to Microsoft's customer support center. And then a Microsoft representative will be able to provide accessible customer support through live video. And that really allows our users to do so much more. And as you mentioned, we're working with Microsoft, Google, Verizon, Procter & Gamble, pharmacies, governments, whatnot, and that provides this support to the blind and low vision community. And that really means that our users can do so much more. So we're constantly trying to grow that side of the platform, because it means that our users can do everything.
And what advice would you give to other businesses possibly looking to tackle accessibility at the moment? and the role that they should give design within that space?
We like to, we like to remind folks that accessibility it's a process. It's not just a project. It's not just a one-off sprint or a feature or even a set of features. It's a way of doing business. And there's a big misconception that accessibility is like charity for a niche group of people that is going to thank you for it or something like that. But the truth of the matter is, you have 15 to 25% of the world has a disability, and all of them live within a family or a community who's going to make their buying decisions based on their family with disabilities. And if you don't address accessibility, you're switching yourself off to more than half of the market. So integrating accessibility into everything you do, whether it's your development, your customer support and service, your communications and your media that you put out, your advertising, this is just good business. And some of the best practices of accessibility are deeply, deeply, helpful and really improve your SEO and your ability for people to find you via search engine. And so it's really interwoven with how you do business effectively today. We really don't look at accessibility, at least at Be My Eyes, as a medical problem to be solved or to be fixed, or to be cured. We don't look at it as even a technological problem, because the technology is relatively simple, and the tools exist for people with disabilities to access information. We really view it as a design problem, and the responsibility of communities and societies to take accessibility very seriously from the beginning, because it will benefit them just as much as it benefits the customer.
Yeah, that resonates really, really well with me. I've observed as a designer in previous roles that accessibility is not always a primary focus or a delivery priority, such as the way that we're constantly pushed for time in terms of delivering something. What do you see as the biggest challenges in promoting accessibility and inclusive design?
Yeah, I think again, it's this misperception that it's somehow, meeting the needs of a very small group.
Yeah.
I can't emphasize that enough. And the other thing that you see, which is a real, legitimate logistical concern, is finding real users to test with. It's not going to work to run an automated scan on your product to try to see how a real human is going to interact with it. So finding users with low vision or with who are keyboard only users, it is a little bit of a challenge. And that's one of the reasons the companies we work with love specialized help so much, because they're addressing two problems at once. The first thing is they're physically seeing how their product works in the wild with real users. So their agents who are answering calls are literally looking at whatever it is that's tripping up the blind and low vision consumers with their product, and simultaneously they're receiving feedback, and they're taking that feedback to design teams and letting their design teams know, hey, there's a bug on this interface, or the way that the color contrast was done on this label is tripping up all of our blind consumers. So it really is sort of like a live, ongoing usability test. And any company that we work with who's dedicated to accessibility just knows that information is gold.
Yeah. Having the feedback loop on that level is so important for designers and for product creators. It's like gold dust, really, to have it. So it's amazing to be able to complete that loop. You're not just providing a service one way, you're actually sort of bringing that information back. What's the in terms of the pandemic then, what's the response been like in terms of sorry, go on.
Just a little an extra comment to what Bill said, because I think that like each and every of these like BMIS calls happens because something is not designed right. Every single call is something that is not designed right. And I think, as you're saying, there's just so much gold in here. And I think that one of the biggest challenges also just to address this is like accessibility is put in a box that just is called accessibility, but accessibility is really usability. Even though you might have a website that might pass it and you can put the check marks and okay, now this is like meets some of the standards, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's user friendly. Yeah. So I think that a mistake is that we just put accessibility in an accessibility box and don't think it like more broadly as usability, because those are not exactly the right things.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's the concept of inclusive design at the end of the day. It's making sure that you're considering all of your users at the very beginning and commencing a project, rather than sort of siloing them out, as you say, and having them added on or in boxes. I agree entirely. And yeah, so on that point, in terms of the pandemic, what's the response been like on the app? What effects or challenges have you seen in terms of accessibility there?
Well, on one hand, you have a group of blind and low vision users who are now actually closer with their families and have more support at home because everyone is home. But on the other hand, you've got a large population of our users who are more isolated now than they already were. Maybe that one person who usually comes over to the neighbor who usually comes by to help out, to read the mail or to do those little tasks, doesn't feel comfortable, sharing the inside environment anymore. And people are isolated from their families. I just haven't seen my family in a year. And being blind myself, I understand what it's like to suddenly have your support system pulled out from under you, and having to sort of refigure how you get the information you need. So we've definitely seen the need increase, and the need for health-related specialized help partners who are going to provide BMIS support is increased vastly as well. So the ability to help out with things like COVID tests is just incredibly relevant and timely utilization of the platform, both in the US and the UK. There's a way to do in-home COVID testing. It's very simple, but at the rate that these tests were produced, they're not totally accessible. And a test shows up at your house and there's instructions and there's a colored line and there's all these sort of like very specific things you need to do in order to get it right. And so our users are able to call a professional on Be My Eyes who can guide them through the COVID test and really help them make sure they get it right, get it shipped correctly, so that they have the confidence that they're going to get an accurate result when they get it back. And for people who can't drive up to a testing site, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's amazing to hear. So very well done for doing that. And I hear you're doing that not just in the UK, but in other countries too.
Yeah, in the US, we have a great partnership with a pharmacy that that has a blind founder, and they've just been incredible. And we really welcome other pharmacies and any health focused or just consumer focused company that wants to support blind and visually impaired people on the platform. There's room for everyone. It's sort of become the phone book or a directory of services for the visually impaired.
Amazing. Well, lastly, before we close then, what what sort of skills or tools or guiding principles do you suggest, perhaps like your top 3 principles when it comes to considering accessible design that people can take away from today?
I'll let Alexander address this as well, but I think, first off, don't make any assumptions. We, don't assume who you're doing this for or who's going to benefit from accessible design. And don't assume what the need is. Test and run it by real users. The other thing is, don't be afraid to ask an expert. We have a big network of experts that we refer people to all the time, but also just using your favorite search engine to figure out, to look these things up. Accessibility is not subjective. There are very clear standards out there, and they're well documented by very passionate people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I think lastly, just involve the community at every step of the way. Alexander, did I miss anything? What do we tell people in terms of the accessibility checklist?
I think you nailed it. It's work very closely together with the community that you're trying to solve a problem for, and solve it with them and not just for them. I think there's a lot of people making the mistake of making too many assumptions, because they don't have lived experience, and it's really hard to replicate lived experience. So bring people on the team up that needs the service more than you do is key when trying to do accessible design.
I'll just add, a lot of what we spend time doing with Be My Eyes is not just plugging people in with the platform and with the users, but educating and referring and building that network. We have an accessibility podcast where we are interviewing all these accessibility leaders, and we have relationships with all these blindness organizations all over the world, each of which have their own user testing services. And so if someone reaches out to us from whatever country, we can get them plugged in with their local blindness organization. We can get them, real users in their offices, so to speak, quickly to test out things and, really get them more connected to the community, both regionally and on a global scale. So we're passionate about doing that.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Will and Alexander, for your time today with Adobe Live for Business. And thank you very much to anybody tuning in as well. If you want to find out more about Be My Eyes, we'll definitely leave you some information to find out more about them and what they've got planned next. But that just leaves me to say thanks so much for your time and efforts today and joining us.
Thank you, Lisa.